dust in the universe to the waters in the womb I surf. I'm the all in all, from the atoms that exist in the sun to the atom that's in Genesis 1. I'm the all in all, from the first king that walked this globe to the last black slave they stole. I'm the all in all, every living thing you see, all of those things exist in me. I'm the all in all, from the depths of the sea to Mount Everest. Allah in the flesh, most benevolent. This physical form born from melanin. When electrical thought sparked intelligence. Ain't nothing existing I don't exist in. From the clouds in the heavens down to this skin. If you're doing the knowledge, you can follow jewels. In both cases, the basis, water molecules. Rain, sleet, snow, hailstorms come together the same way that my cells form. You don't see it yet, hard to fathom still. It's A-like to the pyramids, how my atoms build. I existed as DNA when the earth formed, and my paternal lineage is from the firstborns. Holy Quran, Bible, I'm coded there. In a fine mist, you'll miss if you don't know the square. Yeah, on all four corners they seek the G, while trying to speak on me in secrecy. I created the earth as mother and daughter. Her bones are the rocks, her blood is the water.
Peace, y'all. This is God in them streets, and I decided tonight to address my audience because within a day I will be 61 years old. I know I don't look it, you know, I gotta get my choppers done, but some of y'all individuals, hopefully you'll get a chance to see your equality ciphers and still be in, you know, fairly good shape, health, and everything otherwise. I'm here to address y'all because this is kind of a sad but yet celebration at the same time. Because like I said, within 2 days will be my born day. And this is the first born day that I will be experiencing within 60 years without my old earth. Yes, my old earth. She returned December the 7th, 2022, a few months ago. Put her away on the Knowledge God Day, which in our lessons means queen, and she was a great queen, and that's why I'm going to speak about her. Why I take y'all back. I want to take y'all back to a time that only the individuals that was around can understand where I'm coming from and where I'm trying to lead y'all to. I've been watching a lot of, you know, the controversy up on the internet. You know, my man Doggy Diamonds and Hassan going back and forth. Of course, we always know the great Charleston White got something popping. I'd like to give a shout out too, for a second, to a brother channel named Mac Mean. The other night, he was the first one. I'll be up in all of y'all chat rooms, and I'll be trying to, you know, give y'all a little bit of some wisdom and some jewels instead of just being like all the rest with the buffoonery. But anyway, in all of y'all subtle ways or whatever, y'all all got a message. And I really think that y'all all do mean well. Sometimes we get up there and we brag and boast about money and all the other nonsense that really don't mean nothing. But at the end of the day, what y'all got to understand, it doesn't always got to be about the messenger or the delivery coming from the messenger. But it's got to always be about the message. And it's a lot of insane and crazy ways to go about delivering the message. So I want to deliver a message to y'all. And this message right here is going to be called The Real Cypress Hills Projects, East New York, Brooklyn. Okay? So I'm going to take y'all through a little time walk prior to us becoming the A-Team in Cypress Hill, prior to Tut, Glaze, Jesus, you know what I'm saying, Kool-Aid, Boo Brown, you know, Puerto Rican Head, so many people I could go into their histories, because as far as the history is vast. So I'm going to start with my journey of telling you how I got out there. First of all, I was born in 1962, March the 22nd. That's a blessed day. Our father was born on February the 22nd. So I'm happy that the following month after, which is the understanding month, you know, that I came through the birth and through the womb of such a beautiful woman as my old earth, better known as Beatrice Taylor, better known in the street as BT. Well, anyway, while I go through this, I'm going to be putting up a lot of facts that y'all can see, because I like to base everything on facts. Okay? So my father, who I just recently, when I was looking through all of this information that I'm going to put up there, and I found out his full name. I always knew it was Al, but it's Albert Sterling Ivory. His father's name is Dude Ivory. You know, his mother's name was Hattie Brown. They from Richmond, Virginia, which is where my first seed was born, Sharif Omar. You know what I'm saying? So everything mathematically coincide in my life. But anyway, when I was going through that, I seen a lot of things that represented a strong black woman, even when she had to raise me on her own. And not because my father, you know, didn't respect me. And I know he did. That's why he placed me in his last name. Because, you know, back in them times, if a woman had a baby out of wedlock, the child was called illegitimate, a bastard, all of these nonsense words that don't mean nothing. Because if it take a contract in order for you to take care of your kids, then something is wrong with you. But anyway, my father, you know, that I respect, my biological father, you know, placed me in his last name. And that was great, because that carried me a long way in life. And as you're going to see in this video, I'm going to produce all of these documents, because I want y'all to develop this story in your mind, other than me just telling it to you. So like I said, I was born also in the county of the Kings County Hospital, 4 something in the morning. Okay? Now, from my recollection of things, and I'm going to try and give it to you as precise as possible, is that my father was a bartender up there on Fulton Avenue. That's a big street that runs, you know, all the way to downtown Fulton. Everybody know about Albee Square Mall from the rap records. But my father's bar was supposed to be the first black bar, you know, on that side of Brooklyn. And it was on Fulton Street. And it has it in his death certificate that was his occupation. Very handsome man, everything else. Him and my moms got together. They produced it me. At that time, we was living on 518 Quincy Street. Yes, I was born in Bed-Stuy, do or die, the whole kit and caboodle. And I remember so much, even though I was there just a short period of time in my life. And during that time, I remember first it was a movie theater right there on Sumner Avenue. I think they eventually turned it into the PAL. And where I used to live, they eventually built a project in which we could have went back to. But I didn't want to go back by the time me and my mother moved out to Cypress. During that time, my first experiences, my mom's, she always did her thing. Scrub floors, for white people, which I'm going to tell you about in this. And, the only other thing was she played her little numbers, She got her hustle on. She always said, God bless the child that, make his own. So she knew she had to go out there and get it so that she could make sure that I would be all right. So she didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she didn't have no men running in and out. And I'm explaining this to you because I want a lot of y'all young sisters now to see what it is to be a real mother, and especially a real black mother raising a young black man in the ghettos of hell. And she was a prime example. I hear all y'all guys, Charleston, White, talking New York, this, that, and the third. All of us come from the South, and I know you know that because you're an educated man. And that's where my mother's from, McClellanville, little town outside of Charleston, South Carolina. They call Geechees down there. That's where I learned how to walk. I was so big, my moms got tired of lugging me 18 months. She buried me in the dirt down there, act like she was walking away. I got up out the dirt, started, walking from that point on. You used to be so scared because even nowadays it still is the boondocks, All due respect to my family that's still down there and been down there for ages. But back then it definitely wasn't no lights, just dirt roads and moss trees hanging all the way down and everything else. But we had such a sense of family and pride, And back then, a lot of times, like my grandmother and the rest of them, they would leave and they would come to New York first. And they would leave their children until they got on their feet and got established. Or if they didn't have a husband, they had a child already, they wanted to make sure the next man they got with was their husband, and then they would come back and get their children. Or some of those children stayed there and was raised. Because it was always a vice versa process. If you was in New York and you had a child too early or whatever, we talk about the 60s, you know what I'm saying? When it was still family structure. And if you had a child out of wedlock or too early, as soon as they knew you was pregnant, 15, 16, they was ashamed. Even in the projects back then, that was a no-no. Because we had those type of mothers back then. Those good mothers, either from the South, from the Caribbean, or whatever, that instilled in us. Like my mother always said, manners will take you places that money never will. And I always lived by that code. Even though that's the hardest code, one of the hardest codes, like the loyalty, the respect thing, all those codes is so hard to live by. Because nowadays, when we live by those codes, they'll look at us and say, oh, old school's a sucker. Or you want to play something that you really not. And then when you get under the gun or you get under pressure by them peoples and everything, now you want to turn into a whole different type of individual. But anyway, sticking to the basics, they grew us up with the morals. So even in Bed-Stuy as a young dude growing up and everything else and developing, you know, I learned certain things right then and there because you had to. So, being that my mother always liked to, play her little numbers and everything else, the number game and the barbershop and all of that was all a part of our village back then. So it used to be two number runners that I remember from back then that she was real tight with. One name was Miss Carol, and first she had like a little ice cream parlor or something on one side of the street, and then she moved it to the other. But that's the first time that I, realized too about women that wanted to be like men. Because back then they used to call them bulldaggers. You know what I'm saying? When they dressed up like men. It wasn't out in the open, all on TV, everything. They gave a child a chance to develop and decide. But it was basically taboo back then. But it was one woman, man, and I got the utmost respect for it. And that's why I'm saying, all y'all older cats and everything, and older sisters, y'all need to tune in so that y'all got some direction, even if it's not for your kids, for your grandkids. But anyway, I'm going to call her Miss Kate because she was the flyest dresser and everything that I know even back then. And I know her family to this day, so she's still alive. So, shout out, hugs and kisses for you, Kate. But she was the first one, okay? The first time that I experienced knowing about the Nation of Islam. They used to come to our house back then and knock on the door, with the Peruvian blue fish and things like that, the Muhammad speaks. The first time I knew anything about Hebron, well, like I told y'all before, which I'm going to be bringing up because I'm touching on, I got so much content. It's crazy because my life is a whole movie. But anyway, my uncle, like I told you, one of my middle uncles, when I was 7 years old, out in Queens, in St. Albans, where they got the boiler room and, the basement, and my ball rolled into the boiler room, and that's the first time I seen somebody strapped up with something around their arm and everything. It was my uncle, and he was about ready to blast off, take a hit, and he looked at me, and he looked me right in the eyes, and he said, "Yo, if I ever find out you using this shit, I'ma kill you. Get your fucking ass on out here." Excuse my language, but I had to interpret it like he said it to me because it was that real. And I always was scared of needles, but with him placing that emphasis, that was one thing. And then, I started to realize more about it because my other, uncle, rest in peace, my youngest uncle, Kenny, you know what I'm saying? That was a goon, knocking niggas out and all that. That's who I used to walk up. But my grandmother used to live on 115th Ave between 199th and 200th Street. Like I said, I'm a Brooklyn, Queens nigga when it comes to that, because my style, all that, and wanting stuff and having stuff come from Queens. And that's where my grandmother and them had the house before they sold it and moved back down south. But anyway, my young Uncle Kenneth and everything, he was doing his thing with that too. So he come back when I knew when he ain't have it, because when he ain't have it, all dope fiends back then, they want massive sugar. So when I know he come in, he ain't got it, he come in early or whatever, he gonna go in there, he gonna make some Kool-Aid. And at that time, I'm a savage, so I'm eating pork and beans, yeah, And he would take the whole, like, little, dish, sugar dish, wow, had the Kool-Aid all ganked up. Then he'd make the pork and beans, put the butter in there, gank that up with the sugar, wow. And then I go over there in his room, and he let me drink the Kool-Aid, he let me eat the pork and beans and all this sugar on it. And I'm running around jumping off the wall, everything, and all that, trying to get himself together. And grandmother wake up in the morning, go crazy on him. Yo, Kenny, what you do? But she see all the sugar in there. You be feeding that boy all that sugar. That's why he ain't going to sleep at night. He better not catch you. But anyway, my uncles was gangsters, and I got the news clippings. I'm going to go with all that. So let me stick to this, Bed-Stuy to East New York journey. So, like I said, when the lady Carol moved her number spot, and also shout out to my man, I don't know whether you dead or alive, I think somebody told me you returned, Big Fat Chris, but everybody over there know him because his mother Mary, she used to run numbers back then, and her and my mother was tight like that. Chris was one of my closest friends before, I moved out there to, like I said, East New York, the killing ground. So the first time that I knew about death back then, was we went to the bus stop. Used to be a number 10 bus. I think it's 15 now. And I'm looking, my mom's got me pulled back. They got the yellow tape and everything. But I see they got a sheet on the sidewalk, and then they got a sheet over something else in the street. And I'm like, what's going on? My mom don't really want to let me know because I'm, like I said, I'm going on 5 or 6 years old at that time. I don't supposed to know nothing about what death really is, but she had to explain it to me. That's the first time I experienced knowing about death, and the first time was somebody being decapitated. Yeah, the individual's head was on the sidewalk and their body was in the street. So it was stuff like that, with the babysitters and being around older cats. Back then for fun, we used to bust open the Johnny hydrant, take a can and scrape it on the ground until you open up the backside of it. Now you got the can that's open on both sides, put it on the Johnny pump, everything. I was always fast for my age. So even then, when I was out there running around with, the babysitter kids, we was doing little shit then, like hopping on the back of the bus and riding the back of the bus. Now remember, y'all, this is before police cars in New York even changed their color. When I was growing up back then, the colors was black and green and a little bit of white in it, So anyway, those things, I remember, I don't know whether these individuals that own the meat market, but I know his name was Artie. And Artie had the best liver in the universe. My mother couldn't get me to eat liver from nobody else, because liver is tough. But like I said, once again, because she a southerner, my mom's be hooking up on Saturday morning, that liver with grits. Sometimes she might got the okra and all that to go with it and everything. But if she try and scam me, or at night it might be mashed potatoes, liver, lamb, my mom's fed me pretty good. Matter of fact, like I said, because it was just me and her, we always had plenty of food. But and she tried to scam me with the liver and hit me with that other liver, and I gotta go into it and cut it, and I bite it one time and feel like that gristle. I'll be like, nah, ma, I ain't eating this. This ain't Artie liver. She'll laugh, Oh boy, go ahead, I'll make you something else. But after, she know if she gonna get some liver, she gonna get some Artie liver. So things like that last, you know. I remember Our Lady of Victory up there by Fulton Street, Catholic school. Nuns back then, they was tearing us up. They used to have them long little wooden sticks with the point at it. I was getting tore up back then because I was already one of them little badass dudes, you know. So the funny part about it is it still was Jews in the neighborhood, because I remember a little Jewish girl that my mom used to let take me back and forth, and that was like pre-kindergarten or whatever, before I ended up going. I think that's PS 19 over there by DeKalb. You know, matter of fact, that was it, because I was in between, and when we moved, it was like I think, it was 68, because I'm looking at the paperwork right now when we moved to go out there. But just to say, you know, things was so much different. Bed-Stuy was crazy dirty. We used to first, I got something to show. We lived in apartment 9. I think that was on the 2nd floor. And my mom used to have to lug them big baby carriages. Like all that fold up, all that fly shit y'all got. Matter of fact, back then, it wasn't even Pampers. They used to have to wash diapers, hang them out. Me and my man B.U. was just talking the other day. He sent me the old school washboard. You know, I used to do that with my mom. Soak it, you know, all the white coals and ammonia, bleach, all that. Then they used the scrub ball. Y'all chicks wouldn't even dare think about that. Y'all got washing machines and dryers and don't even want to wash clothes, clean clothes, fold up clothes. So, and now y'all wonder why, you know, that the male black children is out there like they are. But they out there like that are because y'all gave up the reality of being real mothers and nurturers, because y'all want to be everything other than that, men and all this other stuff. But let me not get carried away with that, you know, and stick to the basics, and y'all going to see what a real black queen was based on. And I was her only child, and she passed away at Born Power, which is 95 years old. Yes, I was blessed to have this woman in my life, in my presence, for 60 years before, you know, she went on back to the great essence in which she came from. But that's the first person that showed me how to hustle, how to be, you know, you got to get out there and make it happen. She said, all prayer and no work. God ain't going to do nothing for you if you don't go out and do it for yourself. So she was a prime example of what you had to do and how I had to hustle, because hustle ain't got nothing to do with just drugs. That just is what was created due to the environment and the time that I was in. Otherwise than that, I'm going to show you that we was raised with all the good morals and everything coming from our parents. And all my comrades and everything that we went buck wild, we all come, you know, Glaze, you know, Kool-Aid, Tut, you know, Jesus, all of us, I know all they parents. They all had good parents. The Williams, all good parents. Arif, his mother, like my mother, Miss Marlene, and I miss, just like I miss my mother, good parents. Our mothers made sacrifices for us. Those was real women. But nowadays, y'all want us to respect y'all like women, but y'all don't want to do what a woman, because you do what a woman do don't make you weak. That make you strong. I don't want a woman that walk behind me. I want a woman that can walk beside me. But if you want to walk beside me by playing the positions that make you strong. Being submissive does not make you weak. And that's the difference between y'all and them type of women. You think they didn't know that grandpa was in the liquor house, hitting the little liquor house, you know, Jezebel, as they say back then? But as long as he went out and worked hard and came home and bought that check before he went to the liquor house, the ones that didn't care, you know, about their family, they took everything they had and went and, you know, effed it up and then came back home with an excuse. But the real men and the real mothers, like, bro, oh, I gotta do this. They was taking care of 13, 14 kids and keeping the shack or whatever they had spotless. But anyway, like I said, I experienced all these things in Bedford-Stuyvesant, you know. My father was still alive, and all I got is good memories of my father. Matter of fact, the last time that I remember him coming to pick me up was before me and my mother ended up going to the James Brown concert at the Apollo Theater. And James Brown, you know what I'm saying, pulled me up from the audience and put me on stage, and I did the split and all that. But my pops had just rolled up, and he had just got electric 225 convertible, white, with burgundy seats. That was crazy. That was crazy back then.